Hello and welcome to Bright Young Things YouTube channel. Today we're going to discuss diffusion, which is part of the key stage 3 chemistry syllabus. So in today's video, we're going to cover what is diffusion, why diffusion is important. We're going to think about some examples in everyday life where diffusion is used. And then we're also going to look at a specific type of diffusion, which is called osmosis. So firstly, what is diffusion? If you look at this diagram on the right hand side, you can see someone putting some dye molecules into a beaker of water, so water molecules. When the dye first enters the beaker, there is a very high concentration of dye. Because water, any liquid, is the molecules are able to move around randomly and freely. This allows the molecules to collide with each other and for the dye to diffuse out into the water. So this method of diffusion is the dye moving from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration, so that it is then diffused evenly throughout the liquid. So diffusion is the movement of a substance from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Diffusion, like we mentioned in liquids, is because the molecules are able to move around randomly and freely, and it's exactly the same in gases. So diffusion can occur in both liquids and gases, and this is because the molecules can move around randomly and freely, they can collide with each other, and this allows them to disperse out in the liquid or gas. So what is diffusion important for? So diffusion is important for many different processes. The first one we're going to look at is respiration in living organisms. So in living organisms, respiration occurs in our cells. And when this happens, one of the waste products of respiration, as I'm sure you've learned, is carbon dioxide. So if we have this waste product of carbon dioxide building up in the cells, this obviously causes a high concentration of carbon dioxide in the cell. And as we've learned, diffusion is the process of something moving from a high concentration to a low concentration. So in this situation, diffusion allows carbon dioxide in high concentrations in the cell to diffuse out through the cell membrane and into the blood where there is a lower concentration of carbon dioxide. So all in all, this allows waste products to be removed from the cells and prevent a build-up. Looking at mineral uptake through water diffusion in plants is another reason why diffusion is important. So this is actually a very specific example of diffusion, and it involves osmosis, which we'll look at in a minute. But water diffuses into plants through their root hair cells. So the water is able to move from the soil, where there is a very high concentration of water, if it's rained, to an area of low concentration where there is less water, so inside the root hair cell. So not only does this allow the movement of water through a partially permeable membrane, but it also allows mineral uptake, which is, so water obviously has a lot of minerals in it. So it allows the plant to get water, and it allows the plant also to get minerals that it needs. And then in terms of non-living systems, it enables smells and those kinds of things to disperse in the air as well. So for example, when we spray some perfume, the smell, the scent will diffuse out in the air. So like we just mentioned in the previous slide, in terms of plant water uptake, there is a specific type of diffusion which is called osmosis. So if we look at this diagram here, you can see that you've got the solute, which is the green circles, and the water, which are the blue circles. So when we're talking about osmosis, we're not talking about a high concentration of the solute, we're talking about a high concentration of water. So we're wanting the water to move from a high water concentration to a low water concentration. So osmosis is the diffusion of water molecules through a partially permeable membrane from an area of high concentration, high water concentration, to an area of low water concentration. So for example, if you have a very dilute solution, this means it has a lot of water molecules. It has a high concentration of water molecules, whereas a concentrated solution contains a low concentration of water molecules. So the reason why this is important, looking back at our previous slide for mineral uptake through water diffusion in plants, is that it allows water to move into the areas where it is needed, where there is a low concentration of water molecules. So let's have a quick test of our knowledge of what we've learned in this video. So the first sentence is the definition of diffusion, and the second sentence is the definition of osmosis. So if you take a minute, pause the video if you need to, and try and fill in those blanks, and we'll go over it in a second. Okay, so hopefully you paused that. So let's have a look here. So diffusion is the movement of a substance from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Osmosis is the diffusion of water molecules through a partially permeable membrane from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. So what have we covered in this video? We've looked at what diffusion is, why diffusion is important, processes in everyday life that diffusion is used in, and then we've also looked briefly at osmosis. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch some of our other videos. We have other Key Stage 3 chemistry, and we also have the other Key Stage 3 sciences, so biology and physics.